Hello student, today I am going to explain you the second part of our chapter Expert Detective. In the first part, we read there are two children, Maya and Nishad, and they are finding fact about Mr. Nath. Now, in this chapter, we will read what happened after that. Due to heavy rainfall, Nishad and Maya got an unexpected holiday. So, Maya thought to utilize that time in a useful work. Now Maya started writing in large block letters, catching a crook. Expert detective Nishad and Maya Pandit by appointment of the whole world. Then I began writing. After that, Maya started writing. About half an hour later, I turned toward Seven, who was lying on his tummy, chin cupped in his palms, reading comics. Want to hear what I have written? I asked. And after half an hour, Maya turned to Seven, Nishad, who was lying on the bed, like in that position which you are watching in the picture, and he wanted to hear what Maya had written. Asked Maya to Nishad. He looked up questioningly. I have listed all the facts we know about Mr. Nath which might help us to trap him. I said, want to hear. Now Maya said to Nishad that she had listed all the facts which they knew about Mr. Nath and they might help them to trap him. And he asked him if he wanted to hear them. Seven nodded. It means Seven answered in yes. Fact number 1, I read. Fact number 1, Maya read. His name is Mr. Nath. We must discover his first name. Maya's first fact was that his first name was Mr. Nath and they had to discover his first name. Do you think that's his real name? Maya, Nishad asked. Nishad asked Maya that it was his real name. Probably not, I said. Maya said it may be not. Most crooks have an alias. Alias means an alternative name. I added a big question mark after Nath. So Maya put a question mark after Mr. Nath. Fact number 2. I read on the tenants at Shankar house say he's mad, strange and unfriendly. Maya's second fact was that the tenants means the person who lives on the rent. So it means the person who lives on rent at Shankar house said about Mr. Nath that he was mad, strange and very unfriendly. Fact number 3. He doesn't talk to anyone and is mannerless. Maya's third fact was that Mr. Nath is mannerless because he didn't talk to anyone. But he did talk to us, Maya, and Mama says he is very polite. Nishad interrupted. Nishad interrupted Maya and said to her that he talked to us and their mother told them that he was very polite. He only talked to us because he had to, I said. And since he was under Mama's medical treatment, he had to be polite. But Maya gave a reason for his politeness because he was the patient of their mother. That's why he talked politely with them. Fact number 4. He doesn't receive any letters. Seven nodded. Maya's fact number 4 is that he doesn't receive any letter, and 7 is agree with her. Fact number 5. He's been living in room 10 of Shankar house for more than a year. I continued. Now the fact number 5 is that he was living in Shankar house and room number 10 from more than 1 year. Fact number 6. He doesn't work and sits in his room all day. Maya's fact number 6 is he didn't work and only sat in his room all day. Fact number 7. The kids in Shankar house and even some of the grown-ups are scared of him. Maya's fact number 7 was that the kids as well as grown-ups, some grown-ups also afraid of him. Fact number 8. He has no visitor except for a spectacled, fair, fat man who visited him on Sundays for lunch. And Maya's fact number 8 was that only one visitor came to meet him on Sundays. Fact number 9. Food and tea are taken to his room by Ramesh from the restaurant downstairs. And the fact number 8 was that only Ramesh took him for food from downstairs. He doesn't care what he eats, pays his bill immediately, and tips well. That ends my list. Have I forgotten anything? 7. Maya's last fact was that he was not very particular about his food and he paid his bill immediately after the food, and he also gave tips to Ramesh. And Maya ends the list of her facts, and he asks 7 if she had forgotten any fact. Nishad had obviously not been paying too much attention to my list of facts. Maya noticed that Nishad was not listening her facts very carefully. All he could say was, "Poor man, Maya." Nishad only said that Mr. Nath is a poor man. He must be so lonely if he doesn't have any friend. And he also added that he was very lonely if he had not any friend. How can a crook have friends? Idiot! I almost shouted Maya. Maya told Nishad that Crook had no friends. At least he has one friend, the one who meets him on Sundays, said Nishad. But Nishad was not agree with Maya. He told Maya that he had one friend who meets him on Sundays. A brilliant thought occurred to me just then. Suddenly, a very good thought came to Maya. That man must be Mr. Nath, accomplished in crime. Accomplished mean partner. Maya thought that man was a partner in the crime of Mr. Nath. I said, maybe he keeps all the loot and he comes now and then to give part of it to his partner. Maya said that the man was the partner of Mr. Nath in his bad deeds, and he came now and then to give the part of his loot to his partner, Mr. Nath, for expenses. That's it. I'm sure I am right. Maya said that Mr. Nath got his expenses from the part of that loot. If you insist on calling him a criminal, I don't think I want to discuss anything with you, Maya. But Nishad was not agree with Maya, and he said to Maya, if she called Mr. Nath a criminal, he did not think he wanted to discuss anything with her, said Nishad angrily. He can't be such a bad man if he gives Ramesh such generous tips. Ramesh probably knows something about his past, so Mr. Nath must be bribing him to keep quiet, I said. Nishad was not agree with Maya. He said he couldn't be a bad man if he gave Ramesh such generous tips. But Maya said maybe Ramesh knew something about his past, so he gave him money to keep quiet. Nishad glared at me with his arms tightly crossed across his chest. I was beginning to get fed up with him. But Nishad was not angry with Maya. He was staring Maya with anger. Maya was also fed up with the behavior of Seven. How can we make any progress with our investigation if you take that attitude, Seven? I asked. Maya asked Seven, if he behave like this, how can they progress in his case? I'll cooperate only if you give up this idea about him being an escaped crook, said Seven. Seven was ready to cooperate Maya, but the condition was that if Maya gave up the thought that Mr. Nath was a criminal. You really make me angry. I almost hit him. Now Maya said to Nishad that he was making her angry and he hit Nishad. I make you angry, you stupid oaf, I shouted. You make me mad. What is? Now Maya is very angry as Nishad was not agree with the fact of Maya. What is the point of all these inquiries if he is not a crook? Now Maya asked Nishant if he was not a crook, what is the use of these inquiries? If you think he is a nobody, what's the idea of bothering about him? Please tell me. Now Maya asked the reason for that. Nishant looked thoughtful. I had liked to find out why he's so thin and why he's so lonely. Nishad said to Maya that he wanted to find out that why was he so thin and why he's so lonely. I want to know why he doesn't have any friends and lives alone. And he also wants to find out why he had not any friend and why he lived alone. Try to understand. 7. I told him if he's lived in Shankar house for a year and hasn't made a single friend, there's something wrong. Maya tried to convince Nishad if Mr. Nath was living in Shankar house more than a year and he had not any friend, it means he had some problem. He is obviously scared that someone will recognize him and give him up to the cops. Maya gave a reason that he was afraid that somebody will recognize him and gave him to the police. Maybe no once tried to make friends with him. Nishad protested, but Nishad gave his side that nobody tried to make friend to him. Why should anyone bother? You have seen what a nasty bear he is, I said. But Maya is not agree with Nishad and he said to Nishad that he is a very unpleasant person and nobody want him to be a friend. I don't care, said Nishad stubbornly. I like him and I am going to try and be his friend. But Nishad was not convinced with Maya and he said to Maya he liked him and he was going to try and be his friend. Friend with a crook, ha, you are crazy. 7, I said, but Maya laughed and said Nishad, a mad. Crazy means mad because nobody want to be a friend of a crook. The cops will take you to jail with him. Maya said Nishad that cops also took him to the jail with Mr. Nath. Do you want that to be happen? You idiot. Maya also said idiot to Nishad. Nishad merely glared at me and quietly walked out of the room. My theories seems to have made no impression on him at all. In the last, Nishad was not agree with Maya. He did not say anything to Maya, only stared at Maya and went quietly out from the room. This was the story of the chapter. I hope you will understand the story of this chapter. If you have any problem or query, you can ask.